Now what we want is to, every time I change a property, I want to read the database and bring a particular simulation result. So let's read the database. And as we have used in the past SQL Alchemy library to read databases, and we're going to use the same here, import SQL Alchemy as DB. And I'm going to just copy and paste my engine and some of the information from the engine. So this is a local example that I have. Just going to import somewhere just before I'm going to import simulation results, right? So I'm going to define my engine, which is the connection and the name of the table and the database. So I'm going to define the well, in fact, the other thing that I can do even quicker than this, let me see, just a second. Yeah, I can read straight away the simulation results using pandas, and using pandas, I'm going to read SQL, and I have already this sort of information here. So I'm going to bring the description from the simulation results, and I want to bring, actually, let me see. What I want to bring is these simulation results, but I have two tables that I have to cross-reference here. I have a table that that has the definition table ID, and I have a master table, and I have this other master table. So let's see how we can do it. So this is let's call this this is a master, and this is going to read some of the simulation results. And let's see, this is master 3. And actually, these have to read, okay, these results. And I think in this case, I only need the labels exercise 2. We'll go to that in a second. So if I go, if I read the master, I would have, let me put a breakpoint here and see if actually that runs. Okay, so if I go into this DF master and I can view the data frame, now I have that table inside Python. It's something that I don't like about these cases. I'm not quite sure if it is the right exercise, but let's carry on for a second, and we'll figure out which results I need to get. And the other thing that I need to get, I want to read the I have the simulation cases or the names of the simulation cases from the database. But as I mentioned before, I also want to bring the simulation results. Now, I don't want to bring all the simulation results because this is a large amount of data that I wouldn't like to bring. I just want to bring a particular case ID with probably the time and the variable that I want to plot. Okay, so for that, what I would like to do is do something similar to what I'm doing here, but I would like to run it inside this callback so I can plot that specific plot here. So let's see what we can do there. And okay, I think I've got it here. So I'm going to define the query that I want to do. Similar to this case, I want to read the simulation results using a query. So let's copy this. And I want to use all a table query here with that engine. And I want to bring to the, in this case, it's a sim results. Let's see if that works. And the query that I need to use now, it's I want to bring the definition table ID, the quantity from the third table, and but I need to give here what is the ID that I want to take. So in fact, one thing that we could do is add a drop down where I actually take get the simulations IDs. And now I'm starting to remember where the simulations IDs are actually coming in the Excel. So I know the cases that I want to bring, and I know what are the names, and I know what is a table ID. Let's see if that works. Let me see if that works. So rather than reading this master table, I have an input table. And in that input table, I already have the name of a simulation case, and I have the ID. So let's see here if I can add, instead of this drop down, instead of a list of the properties, I want to add the list of the simulation cases. Let's see how that will work. So from this DF input, I want to get, let's see, get list of simulation cases. Right. So from DF input, I want to get the case. Let's see if we can get the case first. I'm going to put it in something called case names. And I'm going to make a list. I'm going to make actually extract all these cases, and I think I can extract the values, just the values from the case names. So let's see if that works. Oh, that's not working. Let's see if this works. Yeah. So let me see here. Now, if I hover, I have all the simulation cases. And what we would like to do is now I want to put the simulation cases names there for a second. So let's use these case names. I'm going to generate another drop down. Let's call that drop down 3. So drop down 3. And I'm going to get all the cases in the drop down 3. Drop down 3. And the values that I want here is the case names, the first case name, just to start. And what I want is to select that case and select the plot that I want to bring. In here, let's see what we've got here. We want to bring the case ID. So let's see what's happening here. Let's see if this is actually running. We may need to split this in a couple of parts, this session. Let's see how far we can go. Might take a bit of time to build the whole dashboard, but here I have now the simulation cases, and I have this plot, and now in the values, in the callback, I can pass the value, the input value. In this case, I can add in addition to this input, I can pass the second drop down, which is the name of a simulation case. I want to pass the value, and I want to pass, in this case, it's we can call this the quantity, which is call it value 1 and value 2. It's later on we'll find a better names. But value 1 corresponds to this input, value 2 corresponds to this input. And let's make a query. The only thing that is at the moment is not working. It's that when I get the value 1 here, I'm getting the name of the name of the simulation model. But what I want to get from the data frame is this ID, because I want to correlate this ID to the database ID, to this definition table ID in the database. So these two tables are related one to the other. So let's see how we can do that. So so the first thing that I can do is get the value 1. In this case, get the value 2, and I can say from the DF not the master. Let's from the DF input. I want to get the DF input, and I only want to get the DF input where case is equal to value 2. I want to get this, let's say, temporary data frame. And so having that temporary data frame, I think I can know what is my ID. Let's call it res sim ID, it's going to be equal to the df temp, and in this case, I can get the definition table ID from here. And I think I can get this to a list. Okay. Now having that resim ID, I can use that resim ID here. And because it's a list, I'm just going to get the first item. And this quantity plot, I'm going to plot time versus whatever plot versus this first value that I'm going to select here. In fact, I'm going to call this quantity plot. So let's see if that works for the time being. And I'm going to read this query. And what I want to see is if I get the simulation results back in here. Okay, let's see. Oh, sorry, this is a quantity plot. This is not going to work if that variable is unrecognized there. And let's split the table, this again. Okay, for a strange reason, again, we're not going inside the. Okay, there we go. We're inside. And I can run this step by step. If I'm going to run, I can do some steps. And if you see here, there is a step over F8 or a step into F7. So I'm going to do an F8. And as you can see, something broke there. Something didn't work there. So there was an error on the, or was there? Let me see again. Yeah, something broke, something didn't work there on this query that I defined here. So let me see what's going on here. So every time I change this, the query is going to be run. In this case, the query is this one. And let's see. Oops. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay. So I want to get the quantity values from this table where table ID is this, and I think it's coming as a tuple. You see that it's coming in between quotes. And quantity is actually, I'm not getting the right quantity. Something it's not working here on the way that on how it should be working. Let me see. The quantity plot is not, when I'm selecting in the drop down, it's not really bringing me the right values. So if I print his, so if you see this property here, oh, it's running again the debugger. Just a second. Okay, so if you see this property here, resim ID, it seems, yeah, that's okay. It's bringing a string. And yeah, for a strange reason, quantity in time and prod gas oil ratio. And if I see the database, it's actually bringing the full name of a property rather than the pseudo name that I need here. So in this case, it's called prod gas oil ratio. But on the database, it's called prod GOR. And I think that's a issue here. I'm returning the value, and I need to return the whole. Rather than the value, I need to return the. I see. I need to return this name here, which is a label. So let's see if I invert this here key. I'm going to pass the key instead of a value and see if that works. So if I pass directly a value here, let's see if that works. Right, there we go. Let's see if that worked. So that's a quantity plot. Now I'm still bringing prod gas oil ratio. That's not going to work. Oh, here we go. Prod GOR. So that should actually get me to the next breakpoint. Perfect. So I actually need to put here prod GOR. Sorry, this is a part that is a bit time consuming, understanding what's getting inside these functions and understanding that whatever I'm bringing the right values here. So now, yes. So if I go inside that table, it's bringing prod GOR and time, and that's great. So now I should be able to select from definition table ID, select the quantity, bring the values, which in this case is definition table and definition table ID, quantities and values from the database, where the definition table ID it's equal to the simulation table ID, which as you can see, this is a simulation table ID. And I want to bring quantities time, and I want to bring also prod GOR. And let's see if that works. Yeah, that's breaking the function. That's causing an issue. I'm not quite sure why. Quantity. Let me see if I take. Yeah, it's something. There is something going on the query that that is not working quite well. But if I go into the pgadmin and copy this, let me see if I can copy that again. Okay. See if I can copy this somehow. Cannot copy this. Let me print this and see if I can run it outside. Run it again. And now this should be able to be printed in the console. So I'm going to copy that that whole query into the console. There we go. So if I copy this query, it actually looks okay to me, but let's execute it directly on pgadmin. See what happens. So if I go into the tables, let me remember how this is. I'm going to create a script now. Query tool. Okay, let's see what's happening here. So I'm going to select from definition table ID, quantities and values. And the definition table ID, it's from this table. Let me see this table. I want to get quantity values and definition table ID. In fact, I want to get everything. So I can put a star here from that table where definition table ID is sits. Let's see. I think one issue here might be this this may need to be within quotes. Let's see. So if I run this in here, okay, yeah. So I have an issue there. So if I put a quote here and a quote here, let's see if that runs. No. Let's see if I put an equal here. So I want to get, let me try to get everything from this case, at least to see if that works. No. Something funny going on there. Let's see if a single quote works. Oops. Okay. That's not good. It seems that that particular case is not in the third table. So if I want to get, let's say, if I want to test, let's test one of these cases that I'm for sure know that is on the table, and run again. Okay, I can get those files. I can get those. There's something funny going on with the simulation cases that I'm selecting. For some reason, it's not bringing me the, for some reason, this simulation case does not seem to be on the database. Let me take another one. Let me see if this one is on the database. This one is not either on the database. That's interesting. So that means that I'm getting my simulation cases from actually this master table. It means that I'm getting my cases from this table. That's what's happening. Okay. So there's a bit of playing around with this, but so I'm not getting the simulation cases from this DF input, but I'm actually getting it from this DF master. So that's fine. So it means that all this process that I was doing here on the DF DF input, we can do that with a DF master. And just to make sure, let me check here in the master table. The name cases are exactly as in the Excel. It's exactly the same. And okay, so I'm going to bring the cases. Let's see if that works. Okay. So I have my simulation case here. That's fine. And so when I select this vector, it's not getting in again. It's interesting. Let me see what's happening with the master case. Okay. Okay, so something going on there. So when I select this, I'm sorry guys, something is not working here with the cases. So I have my simulation results from the database. I can see them in here. Oh, it's called name. The column is called name. So I need to make sure that when I filter here, I filter by name, in fact. And I also might be useful also to make sure that this is, I generate the list of cases for the simulation results. From the actual master table. That's fine, actually. Okay. Let me run it again. Oh. Okay, again, this is called name. So just to recap what I'm trying to do here. So I have my couple of drop downs. And whenever I change the drop down, I want to make sure that this graph here at the bottom changes with the change of the drop down. As simple as that. What I'm trying, it's because we have multiple tables in the database, we have to make sure that I get the right information from the two tables that I have in the database, and I have the right information from this table that I have in here. I don't want to bring, another alternative is to bring everything to the front, but that would be a lot of memory. So I want to dynamically, as I click on the options, I want to be able to bring just the data that we need from the database. So that's where we are struggling a bit at the moment. In this case, yeah, the cases are being brought. So that looks promising. So I can bring the actual cases names. That's good. And now what I'm trying to do here is getting from the, okay, now I'm getting the name of a case. Fantastic. And I want to get this definition table ID from the database. And let's see if that works now. Yeah, for some reason that's not working. Definition table ID from the temporary database. And let me see how that is working. Perhaps it's not called definition table ID. And let me see. It's called definition table ID. Yeah. Definition table underscore ID. That's fine. Absolutely fine. Definition table underscore ID. Yeah, for some reason that is not. I can see it there. I can see the case. I want to bring that particular name. Oh, I see. Okay, name. And I want to bring the definition table ID as a list. Okay, so that somehow worked. And let's see how is a query being printed. So I have a query here. There you go. So let's try that query in the database. See if that works. Let's try this in here again, see if that works. I think this is, yeah, this needs to have some single quotes, otherwise it may not work. Yeah. So I need to put a single quote here and a single quote here. Yeah, yeah. So now it's some progress. It seems that I'm bringing some of the results in here. It seems that we need a couple of quotes for the query or to the database to work. And so rather than having double quotes, it seems that we need to have some sort of single quote here. And let me see if I can add that single quote by adding just this single quote in front of a name. And this single quote in front of a name. And run again. So I look at the front end again. Okay, here we are. Okay, something is happening there. So let's see from the DF sim results if we're getting the results back into Python. And it seems that it's actually happening. So I'm having the definition table ID, and for some reason, yeah, there you go. So I have the values and I have the quantity. So that seems to be working. And it's transposed, but it seems that we're having the results back into Python. And so let's see. So what we would like from these the simulation results it's so first, instead of these random numbers, I want to get, let's see what we're getting. So when we filter on from the database, what's bringing, it's a quantity, time, and it brings it these values here, and this brings also the production values. So what we need to bring here from the, let's bring here from these results, I want to bring the quantity, the results where the quantity is equal to time. And I want to bring only the values. And in this case, in the Y, I want to bring the results where quantity is equal to the quantity plot. And I want to bring only the values. A lot of work to produce that, and I'm going to comment this out. And there is a quick way to comment quite few lines in here in PyCharm. And one, I think the way it's if you where is that? Comment lines. I forgot where is that. I forgot where is that, but you can comment quite a few lines in one go. So let's see what happens there. And in this case, I'm bringing the values that are in the database for time, and the values that are for the whatever property I select. Okay, something is going on there. Something doesn't look like it's the right information that is landing on the, but we're getting close. And I think we only need to format a bit the information. And I think what we need is to extract the values here and extract the values here. And let's see if that works. Yeah, somehow that's not working. Let's try to finish at least the exercise up to the point that I get something out of the database, and then we can build later on something more meaningful from it. We're very close to it, and I guess let me actually print some of these values. Or actually stored in a variable for the time being. This is a time data is equal to this. And I'm going to put this time data in here. And this is this other is a quantity data. Okay, see you again. Let's see what's happening here in time. Yes, I'm having the array of values that I need. I have the, oh, okay. Something funny is happening there. They are coming as a strange property. The same for, this is coming from, as you can see, there is something going on there. There is some sort of a conversion that, something that we need to handle there, because there is a quote inside the array. So we need to do a bit of a manipulation. And I think I remember that I have some codes here, some extra steps to do that manipulation. Let me copy here. And so we need to replace from the time data. This is what we're going to do. And from the quantity data, this is what we're going to do. It's because it's stored in the database in a particular format where we need to replace some of the square brackets that are coming as a string by empty characters. So now here, instead of a time data, I need a time array. Instead of a quantity data, I need a quantity array. And the name of the plot is as it is. So let's see if that works. Seems like a lot of work, and it is a lot of work, but it's all down to how your data is organized. And in this case, I have quite a few challenges because the data, it's, oh, there we go. Nice, beautiful. So now I can switch simulation case. I can switch between simulation cases, and hopefully this will change. And I can switch between property, and this will also change the name of a property. Lot of effort to just get that particular plot, but I think one last thing that we can try is try to get multiple plots in here. But for that, I think I will need to convert this drop down to multiple. I don't know if there is a multiple true here in the drop down. Let's see if that works. And I'm going to go into this drop down, and instead of one simulation case, I'm going to bring in my values, I'm going to bring multiple simulation cases. Let's see if that works. I'm not quite sure if it's going to fly, but let's see. Okay, so what happened if I select multiple? Okay, there's something going on there on the when I select multiple cases. I think something, it's bothering the query here. It's probably on the query, and I don't know if we can check here. Oh, yeah. The thing is that I need to instead of do equal, I need to filter by um, there is another way to filter, which is in. So I can do dot is in, and then the values. Let's make sure that it's a list. And let's see if that works. Oh, that's a list already. Yeah, that fails there. Let's see if I need to take out this to list. Okay. Okay, there's something going on with the list. I'm not quite sure what's going on. If you want to stay, I'm going to figure it out, probably live. But it's I will probably edit this video and cut a lot of the intermediate steps that I did. And in the next session, what I will be doing is continue working on the dashboard and building the full functionality. So I have something similar to this. So we can select from another plot, and then we have multiple tables, and we have multiple plots. So, but we have to slowly build up to this dashboard. Yes, Ibrahim. I usually have a weekly session. Probably I'll try to do another in the middle of a week if I can. And so we don't have to, because there is another topic for next week and the week after. So I want to finish this session on Dash and probably move into something else. And but yeah, I'll have another session. No, I don't know. I need to wrap up this probably mid this week. I'll clean this exercise and then continue building on the dashboard after I clean it. But I don't know how long it would take me to clean it, because I realize that this exercise is quite heavy. So to get to this point, and actually there is a sensitivity matrix here to get to a point where we can build the whole thing. I don't know if it's only one session or one more session or two more sessions. We'll see. But probably mid next week, mid this new week, I'll call for another session.
Thank you, Alejandro.
You're welcome, man.
Thank you. It's midnight here, and
no, sorry, Anna. I know it was a bit slow, and I know, as Ronnie mentioned, a lot of people like to see the troubleshooting, and that's it. That's I think one of the values of the sessions, when you hit the wall, see how you can actually recover from and the debug on the fly.
Debugging is the main point of programming, and thank you, because as a person who has entered programming as a fresh and green person, I received many points, and thank you.
I know, and thanks for saving me with the random numbers and all that.
You're welcome.
I was stuck there, and that's it. Yeah, I sometimes I try to be too creative, and yeah.
Yeah, sometimes some comma or parentheses could stop a program.
Yeah.
So I say goodbye from everyone, and I hope to be in your next session. Thank you,
Okay.
and good night.
Good night. Thank you. Oh, okay. Yeah, I realize what's going on here. So I have to get I have to look through these results in order to get all the traces for a simulation for every simulation case. So I'm going to make a for loop. I'm mainly doing this for the recording session, but for let's say for case in REST SIM-ID, and I want to be able to get I'm going to be able to store the simulation results for every case, and I'm going to do this go scatter. I'm going to store it in a trace here, go scatter, and so every time I go to a loop, I'm going to append this trace into the traces. And actually, let me declare at the top of the for loop, my traces equals to this empty list. So I can add it later on into here and then pass it as a date. The other thing that I need to do is the FSIM results. Actually, it's going to, I have to filter this, let's call it this, the F results. I would have to filter, and this is a temporary simulation results with the results from a simulation case that I'm interested in, which in this case is the name and or actually I can do the name or the definition table ID. Actually, this is ID, case ID. So, and this is definition table ID has to be equal to the case ID. So now I have in the loop the simulation results for every case, and I can do this. And let's see if that works. And actually, the simulation results name, I'm going to use the value to as my simulation results. Oh, let me see first if that works. So that's going there. And let's see if it progresses. Yes, so I have a simulation results, that's fine. Add it to the traces. Okay, seems to be append trace, seems to be Okay, so just to close the session, I have the final issue was that the simulation names needed to be passed to the query of the database with quotes, every case, divided by, separated by a comma, and by splitting the list with these characters. So I'm adding a single quote and a comma, and another single quote to every particular case. And this is what's actually going to be executed on the query of a database. So that's one thing. Now all the simulation IDs that are going have that format. And additionally, I have passed the name of the simulation case. And the same of the simulation cases are in the value too. So I am in the for loop enumerating the IDs and getting the ID of every case, and then plotting the name of a case from the value of the drop downs. So every time I go through a for loop, I go to the case 120, and the data it's added to the array with the actual name of a simulation case. And then when it goes to the next case, it does the same, and so on and so on and so on. And so the final result, as I get to add more cases, I can see more of the simulation cases added into the plot. And I can see also how we can switch between properties. So very basic dashboard, and but we can build from this. We can build a more a complex dashboard as we go forward. Thanks, everyone.